This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
They carried him. They got that rope. Tony, I'm going to go find out. I'm going to follow him, Tony. Okay, David, go ahead. Tony, can you hear me? Tony, you see what they're doing? They got the truck. Let me see. They got around him. They got him hooked. Baby doll's in that truck. Baby doll's in it. Wait a minute, here they come. Oh, good grief. They try to yank. Oh, my word. They had it. Good grief. Now they take him back in. All right. All right, ladies. All right. What were you guys trying to do? Let me ask you guys.
It's nothing new. This is an old world solution to a modern day problem. See, this is a man's sport. Men don't hang around little lip-wristed geeks like Jim Cornette. Well, outlaws handle it best in the night. We live by our own kind of laws. Jim Cornette, this was only the beginning. We don't give. We're taking action. You.
Let me tell you something, David Crockett. Just lay down. Frank gonna tell you what it's all about. Jim Cornette on nationwide TV. You took a lady and put a racket in her stomach, never thinking of the consequences that lie afterwards. Never thinking that somewhere out there in this great land, there are two great outlaws left. There are two great loners left. There are two outlaws that ride the range and act strange all the time. Chasing women, drinking booze, and raising that's outlaws. And they're special. They have their own brand of misery. And we deal out misery, the James boys. So you go in there, David Crockett, you go in there, Mr. Cameraman, somewhere in television land, and you tell Jim Cornette that Frank is looking for him. You tell him that Doll is looking for him. And you tell him that Jess is looking for him. That's all you need to know about the situation. You came close. You came close. Hanging's too good. We're doing it our way now. Forget the title. The James boys. The last living outlaws. Let's get in that truck and go get something to drink.
Place to Be Nation Wrestling. Welcome to episode number 46 of NWA Crock and Roll. I am your host, Sean Kidd, and we are on our second part of May. This time frame will cover May 10th through the first part of May 17th. So before we get started, I would like to introduce my co-host as we go through this. Dr. G, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Things are going well, and I love May of 1986. Some good stuff. And if you don't love Jim Cornette in this month, boy, you'll never like him.
He's definitely hit his peak at this point of time since we started watching him, for sure. Calum McDougall, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking, Sean. How are you?
I am good. I'm enjoying watching this May Crockett. The last episode was really, really good. So this May watch was a really fun one to look at and go through. So I've been enjoying it.
It has been rather spiffing, as they say, this side of the Atlantic. Rather spiffing to watch with crumpets and tea.
Speaking of, what'd you say, spiffing?
Spiffing.
Thinking of spiffing, how about spiffing Scott Shiflett? Scott.
Oh, I am glad to be here, guys. It felt like we were never going to get over April 86, and the first couple weeks of May of 1986 is continuing the fire that we had seen in April, and I just can't wait to talk about it.
All right, so we are going to jump right in, guys. So we'll do the roll call here. So nothing's changed. Still your world champion Ric Flair, your U.S. champion Magnum TA, your tag team champions Midnight Express, six-man the Russians, Mid-Atlantic, the MIA Black Bart, the national champion Tully Blanchard, MIA junior champion Denny Brown, and the TV champion is Arn Anderson. So we are going to jump right to May 10th, 1986. And our first match takes us to Worldwide Wrestling, and it is a match between the Midnight Express and Sam Houston and Nelson Royal, who, again, were tag team partners in the Crockett Cup, and they are pretty much a semi-fixture on the Mid-Atlantic show. So it's good to see them in a main event match with the Midnight Express. Dr. G would probably call Royal and Houston probably Team Good Hands. Would that be their title, Dr. G?
No, I really like that. Yes, Team Good Hands.
All right, Team Good Hands. So Jim introduces his men as mean, who don't need women to fight their battles, which I love. Crowd, Mid-Atlantic, nothing hotter than the crowd. Crowd's chanting for rock and roll, which I thought was funny based on where we're at and what the feud is. Crowd loses its shit for Houston beating on Condrey. And it's like everything Houston does. It's crazy, this crowd. And to be fair, though, I think he's really great as a face as he battles both heels for the hot start, including smacking his ass to tell the Midnight Express to kiss it. This was really another good syndicated show main. And I would have liked to see Nelson and Sam team more, because I think Nelson is kind of like that, senior guy and take Sam under his wing. And they're a really good face team. And the Midnight Express sell like $1 million for them. They are just as great as the heel team, and they're just so good. All four end up in the ring, and Nelson's thrown outside, and Sam takes on both heels by himself. Cornette hits Nelson outside with his racket. The heels beat up Houston inside, and then come the James gang, who beat up the Midnight Express. Dusty James throws a lasso around. This is freaking nuts, this angle right here. Dusty James throws a lasso around Cornette's neck, goes outside with him, and carries him to the back. David Crockett follows him to the outside, and Dusty gets in the back of a truck while holding on to rope. And then T.A. James lays Cornette on the ground. Baby Doll is driving, and the Midnight Express run to the rope and get before the truck drives off. They were going to actually freaking drag Cornette. The truck then backs up towards the Midnight Express, and they grab Cornette and run back inside. The boys get out of the truck, and Dave asks them what they are doing. T.A. James says, this is an old world solution to a problem. I really don't know. I kind of know what he's talking about that, but I really don't think it holds up very well. Says this is the only beginning. We are taking action. Dusty says Cornette on TV took a racket to a lady's stomach and not thinking of the consequences. Says never expected the Outlaws to have their own brand of misery. Tells David Crockett to go inside and tell them that they are looking for it. Tell Cornette they are looking for him. And that's all you need to know. Hanging is too good, and it's not about the titles. The match I thought was great, but really, really short. But this is more of an angle. And again, another layer added to this feud that we've been talking about now for the last few episodes. So incredible. So I went 3 stars all in for what little of the match we saw in the angle itself. Dr. G, what did you think of this?
I went 3 stars as well. I enjoyed this. This is like one of those old school Southern angles. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Doesn't hold up very well when he says, "Oh, this, old school justice." I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, but okay. That
doesn't do well, but in terms of, the way they execute it, yes. I mean, it in those days, you're like, wow, they really did that stuff. It just, yes. They, if you put yourself in that time, you're like, wow, this is some crazy stuff going on here. And again, I watched a lot during this period of time, but I don't really remember this that much. I just don't know why. All the other stuff we've been watching, I remember. So I don't know if I just didn't watch it for a few months or what have you. I don't remember. But, I just enjoyed the angle and the match. Again, Sam Houston's really over in Mid-Atlantic.
Dude, Sam Houston is good, man. Have we? I say it every time. Have we watched a bad Sam Houston match yet? I can't remember. We have.
No, I don't think we've. No, he really is good in the ring. I just think he didn't have the persona basically, and as the '80s started moving on, he didn't have the look that they were looking for. He didn't have the. I can't really say that because Barry Windham didn't really have a great physique either, and he was over. Let me tell you, watching him in Championship Wrestling from Florida. So, yeah, I just maybe it was just his mic skills weren't so great. That's why he didn't reach that next level. But there was nothing bad about the match. It was just short. It was more of an angle. I'd have to go 3 stars for the angle. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I actually would have liked a little more match with the angle, and it probably could have been even better. Calum, what did you think of this?
I quite liked it as well. I can't help but think that Houston and Royal are a bit of a ragtag team just thrown together, but they do work well.
What about Houston and Cornette? That might have been a good team.
Well, my next one is I don't understand why Houston's been punted into a tag team anyway.
And it'd be jobbed out all the time. Makes no sense.
So, but like, you listen to how the crowd is, and they gave him the Mid-Atlantic title for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Then they give it to Black Bart, who's been AWOL since he won it. I mean, I know the Mid-Atlantic title's not really exactly high in the pecking order within the company, but give him something. Don't stick him in a tag team with Nelson Royal, who's gets stuck into the hair dye and that one the last couple of weeks, and have him job out in a random thrown together tag team. I just don't get it, because the crowd are like really, really into him. I didn't like the James boys coming out again. They're trying to usurp America's team as number 1 contenders. Try to jump them in the pecking order, but that closing angle is just as something. It's very, very good. So yeah, overall enjoyed it. A bit baffling with the whole Sam Houston thing, but the match itself was all right, and the closing angle was very good.
All right, what'd you rate it?
I wrote that. Start again, Calum. I rated the match itself 2. It was a decent enough TV match.
Okay, and Schiff?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I rated the match and the angle as just one thing, because I felt like the way it just bleeding over with that. I went 3.5 with that, and like you guys said, the crowd was nuts for Sam Houston, and like he was actually, when he started off hot, like he was being ferocious with Midnight Express, and yeah, and like Crockett's putting over the James boys and everything, and I love how like Cornette is hit Nelson with the racket. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I thought the tennis racket was like the worst thing in wrestling to hit someone with, and like, because they used it so wonderful. But I can't believe that they were going to kill Cornette. We almost saw like someone being murdered on TV, and then we're supposed to cheer for them as the good guys. The 80s were a different time with that. But I did love Dusty's promo at the end with just talking like and like I love Baby Doll. I just loved it all. Like you could definitely, like, we all know who it is, but it's just amazing. And this is 2 weeks in a row. It's like I would have went back to school on Monday and be like, did you see what happened on Saturday? They were gonna kill Cornette.
Yeah.
So
this is again a syndicated show on the weekend, and again just another knock it out of the park moment on Worldwide Wrestling. All right, so now we're going to jump to Saturday night, the same weekend, May 10th, 1986, and we have Colin McDougal's favorite wrestler and Scott Shiflett's 4-star banger of a wrestler, Wahoo McDaniel, and he's out with Tony. And now Tony says there's another man involved in his issues with Jimmy Garvin, and it's the TV champion Arn Anderson. And I was like, well, where the fuck did that come from? Wahoo says people like to look up to a champion, says people understand a man like Garvin who wants to pull his clothes off, but a man like Arn, nothing would make me happier than to be the TV champion. And then why Wahoo speaks, we go to a video of Wahoo in some jobber match, and Precious comes out and distracts Wahoo, and then Garvin attacks him from behind. And then Arn then runs in, and both men attack Wahoo. Says he doesn't know why Arn wants to stick his nose in it. As we go back to the studio, it says he wanted the people to be proud of their champion because he doesn't have to jump anyone's back to beat him. Man, his promos are such shit. But it looks like they're setting up Wahoo and Arn for a TV title match. Arn really hasn't had a proper feud, so I guess this makes sense. But Wahoo should not speak in general. And again, like people like Calum said, he probably shouldn't wrestle either. You know, this would be a great example for me of what you just said about Sam Houston. Why do we have him in a random tag team match? If Wahoo's already tied up with Garvin, why can't you transition Houston over to an Arn TV title feud based on the history they've had? They broke his arm. I mean, there's a lot of history there that they could really play up on it. Instead, they want to add Arn to what I just don't understand it. Calum, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean that's my one main takeaway from this. Why is Arn getting involved with this bum? There's no need for it. He's got enough going on with the Horsemen. Surely he can get involved with. I mean, he's been involved with Tully, and he's been involved with Tully and Garvin. If Ricky Morton's paired off with Ric Flair, why can't Robert Gibson be paired off with Arn Anderson?
Exactly.
You mentioned Sam Houston as well. I don't understand why they keep putting Wahoo in these prominent positions. I understand that he's a name, but it's the same. I imagine if the internet and Twitter was around at that point, this would be the equivalent of Bill Goldberg coming back every time the Saudi Crown Prince wants to have another match. He just keeps popping up when there's no need for it.
And his promos are the worst. Like, he has no energy. It's the shits.
It's just, it's all monotone. I am convinced, if you noticed, he kept looking down. So I think he's getting notes on the table or on the desk. He kept looking down. He was only up for 90 seconds and couldn't remember the couple of bullet points or the couple of lines that he wanted to hit. It was awful. My last thought is this is totally unbelievably crap. It was honestly, it was pointless. It is a waste of Arn Anderson, and it is. It doesn't need to be. It only took up 90 seconds of a 2-hour show, but you could have used that 90 seconds for somebody else. Utterly pointless.
All right, Schiff, is this a 4-star Wahoo promo?
No, this was a dud star Wahoo promo. You left out where he basically says he'll hit Precious as well. Like he said he'll put his hands on her to that extent.
Well, that seems on point considering there's already another male on female angle going on right now, I guess.
Yeah, but that man on female, the man hitting the female is a heel. So with this, like Wahoo's supposed to be the face, and he did put Arn over as a great champ, which I enjoyed, and he wants to be the TV champ, and that brings prestige to the title. But I'm really not. I kind of want to see Arn hit Wahoo with the Gourd Buster. So,
ooh, you might get your wish in that.
Yeah, so I'm hoping.
You might get that. Dr. G, I assume you thought this was the shits too.
It was, and again, they did that a lot back then. We see that a lot of, like Dusty Magnum, they have their hands in different things, but usually those are pretty good feuds. But I didn't understand the whole Arn Anderson thing here. Yeah, I mean, Wahoo putting Arn over as a great champion, that was kind of cool. But yeah, he just, Wahoo just looked like he was out there to collect a paycheck. Like he just didn't have any enthusiasm, was not you don't feel the energy of like, okay, he's really upset. This is a feud he wants to be in. It's just like, okay, I'm just getting my paycheck and going home. And I was never a gigantic Wahoo fan, but I thought he was better than this. But this is horrible, to be honest.
Yeah, I here's what I think. So Arn, if you really think about it, we said in our last episode, really hasn't had a proper feud for the TV title. I mean, he had those bangers with Ron Garvin we talked about, but he hasn't really done much since then. So maybe this is their idea of, hey, let's get him somebody. And I think this also does set up a TV title match between the two that we will see later on this month for May. But yeah, I mean, you got other choices. Like to your point, Calum brought it up. If Morton is busy on the other side with Flair, where's Robert Gibson? It's like Sam Houston would be a great one. It's just doesn't make any sense. And just leave him with Garvin and let's just move on. Yeah, not good. Wahoo continues to be unimpressive here, and we're going to move on. So our next segment here is Bash 86 update. I'm sorry, the Bash 86 update. So we are a few months from the Bash. So Tony's out with Jim Crockett and Sandy Scott, who is the events coordinator. They said the excitement is building to Bash 86. Jimmy says they have rented out some of the best buildings in the month of July. Going to have the greatest party for America. And then Sandy announced his first event will be in Philly July 1st and lists a bunch of other locations, a lot of stadiums. Tony announces country music guests like David Allan Coe, Waylon Jennings, and George Jones. And to me, it sounds like the Great American Country Bash to me. So more to come in the weeks to follow. So anybody, Scott, any thoughts on Bash 86 coming up in a couple months?
Yeah, I got a list of names, list of locations where they're going, like DC, Memphis, Charlotte, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Charleston, Jacksonville, Richmond, Virginia, Fayetteville, Dallas, and Houston. So, they're moving a little bit more on from the Southeast, which they were known for. And the concerts, I'll take it or leave it. If I want to go to a concert, I go to a concert, not a wrestling show. But I put that they have George Jones, like you said, a.k.a. No Show Jones. So I wonder if he actually showed up. And, Sean, was this the Great American Bash tour that you went to?
No, mine was no. I went to 88, the pay-per-view,
Okay.
but 87 I did go to. I went to a couple of 87 events during the summer of 87, which we'll actually talk about on this pod at some point. But yeah, so back in the old days of the Capitol Center, I went to in DC.
Okay.
Yep. All right, Calum, anything else to add on the 86 Bash announcement?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that got me is the staggering amount of money they must have spanked on this, because everywhere they go, other than the Greensboro Coliseum and possibly one other, it is all either NFL or college football stadiums.
Yeah,
and they're getting all these guys, all these singers to come. Now, I've heard of David Allan Coe, so he must have come with a fairly big paycheck. They must have spanked an absolute metric fuck ton of money on this, and then people wonder why Jim Crockett Promotions had financial problems.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It probably started here. To your point, it's like, Jesus, they're hitting all these stadiums, and I mean, are they going to be able to fill these stadiums? I mean, yeah, it's a crazy amount of money being spent here. Dr. G, final thoughts on this?
Well, I think it is a crazy amount of money that they spent on this. And again, I agree with you, Calum. This is probably one of the reasons why they went under. As much as they were called Jim Crockett Promotions, I don't know if they knew how to promote something like this. You could have made money in those days with what they were doing, but they started going a little bit out of their territories, and that's when they started having a rough time. You stay within your territory, they were doing okay. And, I remember as a kid, listen, wow, they're going to be filling up, because remember, wrestling really wasn't known for filling up stadiums. Like, I remember always hearing from my dad the big Shea Stadium show with
Bruno and Zbyszko.
Yeah, right. And then, with Chuck Wepner and Andre the Giant and all that stuff. And, I don't even think they even sold out that. They didn't even get, they didn't even sell out the Shea Stadium. And that was, WWF's territory. So I was wondering, could they actually do this? And I guess they had some decent crowds in some of the places, but I don't know. I think they got overzealous. I think they were really trying to compete with McMahon at the time. And then to bring in all these country acts, and those are all big time. I mean, I'm not a country music fan. My wife is, but those are all big names, especially George Jones. It was interesting to see, and I think they probably took a bath on that tour, to be honest.
Well, yeah, between the stadiums and the country music, that can't be cheap.
I mean, yeah, think about you're like Sean said, you're booking the stadiums, but you're also booking the talent for wrestlers, but you're also booking, some decent sized country stars in the mid 80s. So, yeah, they're getting too big for their britches, and that's why they go out of business in 2 years.
And screaming out that they're Southern, by the way, which was always the knock against Crockett. It was too Southern. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, here's the tour here. So it starts at Philly, Veterans Stadium, Philadelphia, 10,900. Fair enough.
Wow.
RFK Stadium in DC, 6,300. Liberty Bowl in Memphis. Now, I don't know how big the Liberty Bowl is, but I imagine it's not a small place. 1,900 people.
Jesus.
Memorial Stadium in Charlotte, 23,000. That's to be on that. You could understand
Well, that makes sense. That's their home turf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, 3,900.
Oh,
Gator Bowl, 10,000. Let's have a look. I think that's all the stadiums that they did, but they're spending so much money renting Fulton County Stadium, Atlanta, 12,000. They're spending all this money renting these big football stadiums to get next to nobody in it.
Yeah. You're right. You could have done it in an arena because, Atlanta Fulton County Stadium was probably 45 to 50,000. I think Riverfront Stadium, same thing. So, to have those small crowds, that must have been really a horrible setting to watch a wrestling show.
Well, in DC, even RFK Stadium, the Capitol Center was right near there, and that's more up their alley, and that's where they actually went to in '87. Because I went to the Capitol Center for that event. So, yeah, if they had just kind of not tried to fly too high, and again, this is probably Dusty again, filling Crockett's head full of shit. But if they had stuck to the stadiums, or not, if they had done away with stadiums and stuck to the normal arenas through that Bash tour, that kind of probably would have been a hell of a profitable tour and cut out the country bullshit, So, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll be talking about that in the coming months. All right. So now we go to Midnight Express and Jim Cornette. They're with Tony after a squash match. Cornette talks about a tape that played earlier from the match angle that we talked about from when they were trying to drag Cornette down the road. He said he has written a letter to Bob Geigel, who he calls the Fred Mertz of the NWA. For those of you that don't know who Fred Mertz was, he was the husband of Lucille Ball's best friend on I Love Lucy. So, Schiff, I thought I'd have to educate you on that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. The Fred Mertz of the NWA to have last week's match reversed. He demands Jim Crockett come out now to reverse the decision. Crockett out says he got a letter from Geigel and says the James Gang victory will stand unless Cornette can prove it was Dusty and TA. Cornette says, how much evidence do you need? You can't hide those bodies under a burlap sack. Crockett states, as far as he's concerned, it was the James Gang, and he walks off. Cornette says he sees the NWA won't do anything, so we will do it ourselves, taking those masks off against someone with common sense to suspend America's team. Says he can whip Baby Doll any day of the week. So, again, just a little bit more, log on the fire here. Calum, anything to add on this promo?
Yes, one note. This is so stupid, but Cornette is making it work.
Okay.
And he's about to combust was another one.
All right, makes sense. Scott, anything to add?
I just love you couldn't hide those bodies with the burlap sack line, aka he's talking about Dusty Fat Ass Rhodes.
Correct. And Dr. G, anything else to add on that one?
Yeah, I agree with you, Schiff, and also I like the fact that he says he's going to beat up, he could take Baby Doll. That's just, again, doesn't hold up well today, but it's so funny because it just makes him look like such a wimp, that's the whole, his whole character, the wimp, I could beat up a girl, that kind of thing. So, I don't know, I just am entertained by him. I love when he comes on, when Flair comes on, when Arn comes on, you're going to get a great promo.
Yeah, you know what I love about Cornette in the last two episodes, a promo on a Kentucky Derby on our last episode, he always adds a little comical thing in there that is just so wrong, but you kind of get what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And it's like one of those things, like we always say, again, the best heels believe what they're saying. This guy actually believes everything he says. He thinks they're all pieces of shit. He thinks Baby Doll's a horse. That's why he's such a prick. He believes everything he says. So a nice little nugget there. All right, so we'll close out Saturday night with Magnum, TA, and Nikita. So TA and Crockett are out with Tony. TA has the U.S. belt front and center. We hear next week we'll have an announcement about a signed contract to wrestle on TV between Magnum, TA, and Nikita. This has been going on a long time, so I wish they would just get it on TV and we quick watch in these arena matches. TA wants to remind Nikita he made all the stipulations and said he had a lot of pain like never before from his rushing chain matches, but he's still standing. One thing he wants is Nikita to be a man and put your name on the contract. Tony says next week we'll have an announcement. TA, as always, if you look at his head, looks beat to shit and scarred. So even if we never saw those chain matches, you sure did see him on his forehead. So it's a really good kind of visual sell in that of what he's been through. Later on, the Russians come out. Ivan says he heard Crockett's statement, and next week the negotiations will continue for the U.S. title on TV. says it's about time. Nikita said they have to meet their terms. They forced TA into chain matches and devastated him around the U.S. We will headline the Bash 86, and Nikita will be the U.S. champion. And then Nikita gets into that mode where he starts gargling, and I can't understand anything he says. It says something about don't forget about Nikita. So yeah, guys, sounds like there's some shit going down on our next episode with the U.S. title. I just wish the matches would be as good as the Angle, and we'd actually get some matches versus the house shows we've seen, which have been mostly shit. So, Schiff, what did you think of these two promos that kind of sell? Maybe finally we're getting somewhere with the U.S. title on TV.
Yeah, Magnum was looking rough. But I love that he said he signed it, because I will say they've been doing a slow burn with this, and I kind of like that. I love, and I have Nikita insinuated that the Russians were going to change it somehow, but then he starts talking gobbledygook, and I can't figure out what the hell they were saying. And I know you guys have brought this up before, but I remember watching these and I was like, oh my God, these guys are really Russians. And no, they're just like, I don't know what they're doing, but it's definitely not Russian.
Ivan sells being a Russian pretty damn great, by the way. Ivan, I 100% believe he's Russian. I did the whole time. I watched Crockett, to be honest with you. So, Dr. G, what did you think here?
Yeah, I agree with you, Schiff. Like the Russians, I mean, I think because now we know. I agree with you, Sean. As like when I was younger, I really especially thought Ivan was Russian. Obviously, you could tell a little bit. Nikita was kind of trying to work out his accent a little bit.
It's better than Khrushchev, who'd come out and just sound like your typical white American baby face. Like he didn't even try. Khrushchev back
exactly. He was like I guess what in Mid-South he was like the traitor.
Yeah, he's a sympathizer, and but still, it just cracks me up every time I think about it.
But Magnum TA, I love the visuals because you could see that he was definitely beat up. So again, selling. So if you're watching from home, I want to go see these two wrestle. And again, I think the angle itself, the way they're presenting it, is probably better than their matches, or at least from what we've seen so far. But Nikita was so over because he was such a, they made him such a menacing heel that people wanted to see TA beat him. So, I mean, he was very green, but people bought into it because of the way they created his character of being unstoppable and making and sympathizing with TA. So good stuff. I think Magnum, we saw him grow during this whole time. And when he gets in those serious promos, he, he's not one of those yellers and screamers. He just kind of gets his point across pretty straightforward and blunt and kind of, and also the visuals were really helpful in this instance.
Yeah. And, so Scott brought on earlier, said this has been a slow burn. We are 4 months into this feud starting. This started like literally in January, and it's been a slow burn. 4 months. 4 months. And the other thing is we haven't really seen a match with them on TV at all. And so the anticipation of that, as someone who was watching Crockett at this time, was I didn't know what was going on in the house shows. I didn't know their matches sucked wind. So hopefully so I guess I don't remember watching the matches on TV. We'll actually watch them this time because I don't remember a whole lot as a kid. Because I think I came into it right when they were starting I think they were already going into, when I started watching it religiously, I think they were already getting into their last match in the best of 7. So again, it's just interesting to hear this, and the contrary to us seeing these house show matches. But if I'm just watching it on TV, I'm ready to see these guys go at it once and for all. Sean, who's watched the house show matches for the most part, has enjoyed the build a lot more than the matches. So I'm hoping these matches we're going to see coming up are the payoff. So Calum, what did you think of all this?
I thought they were fine. I didn't think they were not the greatest from either man. We've seen better from both of them in my humble opinion. But yeah, I mean it was they did their job. They were heating it up. The next bit, it's good to see that we're going to finally get a bit of a payoff and we're going to see the match now, because I'm even thinking back to the very start of the podcast. I don't even think we've seen them on opposite sides of the ring at all on Saturday night. Or, I mean, there might have been one 6-man potentially. There was a 6-man with, what is he, Dusty and Manny against the Russians potentially, but that was cut short. So yeah, they've kept them away nicely. Yeah, I mean, it did exactly what it did exactly what it had to do, and it gets us to next week for the contract signing, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Absolutely. So that closes out the May 10th watch. So some good stuff there. Some good stuff with the James Gang continues. A shit Wahoo promo. The announcement of the Bash. Cornette's still great. And then we got this stuff going on with US titles. So some good stuff going on and getting thrown in the mix. So we're going to run right over and we're going to talk about the first part of May 17th. And we'll cover the next part of that on our next episode. We are going to Mid-Atlantic. And on our last episode, we talked about how they had a hot match on Worldwide between Garvin and Blanchard. Well, on Mid-Atlantic, guys, we get Ric Flair versus Ricky Morton. So, yeah, at our last show, we saw the house show match we all love. So we'll see how this one goes with commentary to it. So what a main event. Again, and this is their secondary syndicated show. It's not even their main one. Crowd is deafening as Flair is already in the ring. They're on their feet for Morton. This is a 90-minute time limit. And Morton's face is still all messed up. The start is really lightning quick and fast-paced with Morton using his quickness and Flair selling every step of the way. Just like the match we saw in the last episode, Flair's chops to Morton are awesome looking, and Morton's the fiery babyface energy fighting back just is infectious with the crowd. Match is very similar to what we watched also, and almost exact same formula in terms of these two in a match they wrestled. Announcing and the crowd energy makes all the difference. So it's kind of like what we said with the announcing and crowd energy brings it. The energy level for this is great. Morton gets Flair in a figure 4, but escapes to the ropes. Arn is at ringside at this point. Gibson then comes out. Morton just picking Flair apart and cutting Flair off at every turn until Flair rakes his eyes. But Morton hits a flying clothesline and a backslide for 2. Flair then scrapes his knee against Morton's head, which I love. Then he scrapes again his face across the ropes. Morton blocks a throw into the post and hits a body press for 2. Flair is absolutely losing his mind as he rubs Morton's face in the mat and rips the tape off his face. Then he rips at his face and chokes Morton and steps on his face while Arn's outside clapping. Time is running out on air. Flair continues to beat Morton and does a fantastic spot where he lifts Morton's legs up and wheelbarrows his face across the mat, which was freaking awesome. Just looks savage, and Flair laughing insanely with glee was even better. We go off the air. So again, one of those matches go off the air. I did look up the result. Morton won this on a DQ and Arn interfered. Guys, listen, I don't care if it went off the air. I thought this was amazing. I thought it was good face and heel work. Flair was savage. The wheelbarrow across the freaking mat, I loved. But we got 15 minutes even with a commercial interruption. So give me more of these two. I know we have at least one more coming at the Bash, but I have no qualms about it because even though it was short, I got at least the freaking announcing in it. I went 3.75. Thought it was a hell of a main event without a televised finish, and it did the job for me of wanting more of these two. So, Dr. G, what did you think?
I did the same as you did, Sean. I really, really like this. Again, now, you got to take it in a context. Yes, you wanted to see more of it. But again, they were trying to sell, okay, come out and see these guys wrestle.
No, this match got me into the arena, 100%. I was there for this. This was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the way Flair really played up working on his face and, rubbing his face against the ropes and doing that wheelbarrow move and doing, just putting his face into the mat, taking the tape off. I mean, I love when you see the vicious Flair come out, because you see a lot of the cowering heel gimmick that he does, which, is part of his thing. But when he gets that viciousness going at him, that's when he's at his best, I think. And again, these two have a chemistry that's just, it's really unmatched. I mean, I know that you could say, oh, yeah, he had a great chemistry with Steamboat, but I would say Ricky Morton's just as good because, again, the crowd was so into it. I mean, it was deafening at times. And then having the announcing just totally added to it. So, yeah, I mean, I have to go with 3 3/4 stars on this.
All right, sounds good. Rick Steamboat,
4,
Well, yeah, if it were a little longer, maybe 4. Yep. By the way, Rick Steamboat can kiss my ass. Calum McDougal, what did you think of this match?
Very harsh on Ricky Steamboat, to be fair.
Sorry.
First note, Earl Hebner is the ref, so may not have been. You're replacing one corrupt referee with another. Great fast-paced start I've got, but a bit repetitive at times because it seemed I didn't know if I had accidentally hit rewind a couple of times, because you got the thing where you got the sort of exchange where Morton would pin Flair would kick out, and then they would roll out into the side headlock on the mat, and that happened like 2 or 3 times. I mean, I don't mind it happening a couple of times because it shows that Morton has Flair's number and he's on top, but when it gets to the 4th or 5th time, it starts getting a bit repetitive. Everything in this was very, very smooth. I thought it was a fine match, especially for free TV. We're looking at a couple of really good TV matches in the last couple of weeks. So we're really, really lucky with that. I didn't enjoy it as much as the house show match. I put the house show match slightly ahead of it, which means that this one gets a stellar 3.25 for me, just because I think that the house show match kept my attention a wee bit more, and I think it just had a wee bit more in it for me. Although I do get your point that this one having commentary made this one a bit better as well. I preferred this. Always prefer matches having commentary, but the house show match itself was just that wee tiny bit better for me.
Yeah, 3.25 is fair. I mean, again, anywhere in that range over 3, like Dr. G said, you got yourself a banger. So, Scott, what did you think? 4 stars, Shiflet. Was this better than Magnum TA versus Wahoo McDaniel?
I don't need this. That was rude.
The answer is yes, it was, but go ahead.
I went slightly lower than I did of the previous episode. It's just because of the non-finish. Like, I know it was part of like trying to get people to go, see the action live, but this was like so awesome. Like, Flair was he was so maniacal the way he was. Every chance he could, he was like figuratively and literally rubbing Morton's face into anything he could to make it like to open up, the damage they had done. I loved the partners coming down with Arn coming down, then Robert Gibson coming down as the second as well. I really wanted to see the end of it. Sadly, that wasn't the case. And knowing JCP, they probably threw away the tape that had they stopped rolling then, or threw away the tape. But it was
Schiff, it was a DQ ending, so that would have pissed you off anyway. So
very true.
Yeah.
Very true. But I just feel like we were robbed of 20 more minutes of greatness.
Got to get him into the arenas, dude.
I know. I would have been there. I've been there, hook, line, and sinker.
So what did you rate the match?
I went 3 3/4.
All right, so that's fair. So yeah, again, listen, we can't complain. In the last 2 episodes, we've had 2 banger matches between Flair and Morton. So it's crazy. It's crazy. Can't wait till we get to the match in July that we can talk about it there. I'm not sure if that one has commentary either. If I remember the network when they had it, it didn't. So we'll see, but I don't think we have to worry about that till July. But yeah, definitely loving this feud. And unlike the Nikita and Magnum feud, I've been enjoying the matches and their interactions a lot more. All right, so let's head over to Worldwide Wrestling, and this will close out our first half of May 17th, and then we'll talk about our territory spotlight match. Once again, Wahoo McDaniel, 4-star Wahoo, and Colin McDougal's favorite wrestler. Now he's teaming with Sam Houston, who has now moved away from Nelson Royal, and they are taking on Tully Blanchard and Jimmy Garvin, which, first note I made here is weird, as we just saw earlier, Arn was getting involved with Jimmy and Wahoo, so Tully feels totally random, and so does Houston as Wahoo's partner. It just doesn't make any sense. Again, another perceived pretty good main event on a syndicated show. And again, on May 17th weekend, we got 2 really good solid main events. So JJ's on commentary as Wahoo is tossing the heels and chopping them back and forth. I like JJ bringing up Tully and Wahoo's history together as partners. So in 1984, Wahoo turned heel and him and Tully were considered tag team. So I was liking that history lesson there. JJ also claims he introduced Precious to Garvin, which was pretty random. Another hot crowd for everything Wahoo does. Wahoo works Tully's arm, Garvin in, and Tully knees Wahoo in the back as he comes off the rope for a shoulder block. Garvin actually hits some nice overhand shots, but Wahoo takes him down with one Wahoo takes him down with one. Heels work over Houston as he's tagged in, but he does some quick mat maneuvers always, and he's just like Sam is just so quick. And then he tags Wahoo. Then there's a chop fest to Tully. Some fantastic fire from Wahoo. Now, fantastic might be stretching it. I thought Wahoo did show a little bit of fire. Tully beats on a wound to Wahoo's head to get the upper hand. The crowd is chanting very loud for Wahoo. Heels take turns working him over and keeping him away from Houston. Wahoo, I thought, was good as a face of peril for a change. And Garvin and Tully are a great heel team taunting Houston, so he would run in, and every time he would run in, they would double team Wahoo. Wahoo finally tags, but Houston gets cut down by Blanchard pretty quick. The heels take turns picking Sam apart. Tully at this point was limping, so it looked like he had tweaked something. Tully hits a really great-looking hot shot on Houston into a slingshot suplex for 3. The Wahoo runs in, but heels overpower, and Garvin brain busters freaking Wahoo on the concrete, and the faces run out to check on Wahoo. All right, guys, this might be my shit take of the night. I thought this was another awesome 15-minute match, and maybe my favorite Wahoo match I have ever watched, even on top of the Flair Wahoo match that I famously got shit for. The angle at the end was simple and done well. The brain buster on the concrete was amazing. Sam Houston is a damn shame. He chose, it's just a damn shame that Sam Houston chose the wrong head to use with the baby doll, because the crowd loved him. And I could have seen him as Barry Windham type of star to come along. So again, never seen a bad Houston match, but unfortunately, he usually will end up taking the loss with few random wins. On 3.25, I really, dude, I love this match.
No, I'm not having that.
I love this fucking match.
Jesus.
The angle, the match, you guys are fucking crazy. This match was good. Dr. G, I'll go to you first, since Calum's already shitting on it. I love this match. I don't care what you say.
I went 2 3/4. I thought it was okay. I mean, for a Wahoo match, I mean, I remember Wahoo wasn't by himself. I thought, Houston.
Sam Houston is freaking awesome in this. Take Wahoo out of it.
He is.
Yeah.
And Blanchard and Garvin, I love the end with the brain buster for Wahoo. Come on, you have to enjoy that. I figured you get some.
Well, and the hot shot with the slingshot suplex after was freaking awesome.
It is. That's a great move. I love that move, actually. But I mean, it wasn't anything. I mean, I can't see anybody going much lower than that, to be honest. But
apparently, Calum's going to.
I mean, just because Wahoo is in there, I mean, if it was Wahoo alone, we probably wouldn't be rating it this high. But Houston, was a great partner for him to take most of the shit and do most of the shit out there. So, I thought it was pretty good. 2 3/4 for me.
I'm gonna say best for last shift. I assume you hated this too, I guess.
I went 2 1/4.
Dude, this match is so much better than his match with TA. I don't understand.
You're high.
No, you're fucking high. You're out of your mind. I'm fucking in. You're fucking out.
Okay, Kenny Powers.
Go ahead.
I love JJ saying off the top that Wahoo and Tully were partners. It's just a small little thing. Like, if you've been on this ride for many years, like, we're like, hey, we love that you're here. Here's some continuity. Like, we bring it back. Like, it's not even that big of a thing. It's just a throwaway line, but I enjoy those things like that. Tully was bumping around like crazy. When Sam was in, it was good. And Tully was making Wahoo look like $1 million with his selling, because we know.
Correct. He was. Yes.
I love Tully going to the wrong corner. I love that trope in tag team matches. And then Tully dropping Sam on the ropes throat first and hitting the slingshot was awesome. But yeah, I went 2 1/4.
I really love how you said this was awesome, this was awesome, this is awesome, and you only went 2 1/4. All right, Calum, go ahead, shit all over it and be wrong. It's fine.
Honestly, I must have watched a different match to you guys, because.
Yeah, what match did you watch?
I didn't like that. I didn't think this was that good at all.
Wow.
Watching Wahoo McDaniel is like watching a match in slow motion. like everything he sold, it was like everything was so ponderous. And like if he went down, like every time he had to take a bump, he went down to one knee first, and then he fell over like a fucking.
Calum, he got brain busted on the damn concrete.
It doesn't like. This was a 15-minute match, right? Or thereabouts. He had 12 and a half minutes of it. The 12 and a half minutes of fucking slow motion before that
But it was 12 and a half
good.
minutes of the heels beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, but like it's okay with the heels beating the shit out of him, but see when he goes down in fucking slow motion, there's no point to it. Like,
God, you're so biased.
Garvin sold Wahoo's chops like it was death, which is far more than it ever deserved. I don't understand why this is going back to my point earlier on that Sam Houston is wasted in shite tag team matches like this when he could be doing so much better than being landed with this bum as a fucking makeshift tag team partner. Tully sticks out like a sore thumb in this because he's not involved with any of the other three guys, and Jimmy Garvin's just come into this promotion and he's been wasted in this meaningless feud with Wahoo McDaniel. This was utterly pointless. I've given it 1.5 stars. I did not enjoy this at all.
What the fuck, man? Really?
I did not enjoy this at all.
Ooh.
I was like, man. This is that. I was watching this going, this is such a waste of everyone in this match.
I appreciate your disdain for Wahoo, but I'm just this is not being a dick. I promise. You have really letting your hate for Wahoo really take you out of this match. This match was really good.
No, I didn't. I didn't enjoy it at all. I think like everyone was. This was a waste of everyone involved in this match.
See, I guess some of the thought that Houston was good and Garvin and Tully were good. They made Wahoo look good, and I thought the finish was good, and I thought the Wahoo freaking eating shit on the concrete at the end looked pretty. Like the fact that Garvin got that big dude up on that concrete for that brainbuster, that was super impressive, man. How do you not be impressed by that?
I was impressed by it, but it came at the end. It came in like minute 14 and a half of 15 of absolute the dregs of professional wrestling before it.
I got nothing. I got nothing. I'm going to move on because there's no point in debating it anymore. I liked it. I thought Schiff was low on his, but you take the cake. But we'll move on. I can't wait for us to talk more Wahoo on this podcast because he's always going to add some interesting elements for sure. So
I'll give him his credit where it's due and when it's due. But that I didn't see it in this one.
This is like my best Wahoo match I think I've seen. I don't get it.
This wasn't as good as the Harley brawl because the brawl.
Okay, I forgot about the Harley one.
The Harley brawl. Like, see if he's doing that and he's brawling with somebody, he's actually all right. And there has been times where I've given him his props, and he has creeped up into the 2 territory, sometimes the high 2, but this one was just awful.
Hey, I'm glad you weren't on the episode where we talked about Wahoo versus the Beers. I think you probably would have freaking punched your computer.
Oh my God, he lost his mind. Me going off on Dave Meltzer and he going off on Wahoo tonight. Woo!
Yeah,
I'm glad I wasn't on the last one when Chef gave my fucking 4-star. Because I would have just logged off at that point.
Between
that's
Wahoo,
what I've been like.
Between Wahoo versus the Beers and the 4-star Wahoo TA, you might have quit the podcast. I think that might have been it for you. Wow, I'm stunned by this match, but I guess we're gonna end the first half of May 17th controversially. So, wow, good note to end on that. All right, so now we're gonna move to our territory spotlight. I gotta get my druthers around me. We're going to go to the WWF, and we're going to go to Prime Time. This is from May 12th, 1986. It's from the Joe Louis Arena. I have a feeling I might eat a little shit on this match, too, but we'll see. It is the Killer Bees versus Sheik and Volkoff. Brenzel's arm is wrapped up from injury. Sheik's muscularity, even with his beer gut, was always an enigma to me. Like, I didn't understand how, like, strong and muscular he was because he always had that beer gut, so it was always an enigma. Even when he was a Mid-South and he'd do those damn freaking clubs that he would do. His strength was just impressive, but that gut. There's mat work to start between Blair and Sheik, which I thought was decent and surprising as Sheik seemed to keep up speed-wise. Brunzel works Sheik's leg with some good-looking knees to the hamstrings. Brunzel gets a figure 4, but broken up by a Volkoff stomp. Faces get a few pin attempts in, but the heels on the outside always distract the refs, so no falls ever counted. There's a guy at ringside waving a flag who is giving some love by the announcers. There's a bear hug to Brunzel by Volkoff. Gorilla in studio coming back from commercial, says Sheik and Volkoff have looked very lethargic. I will agree with him on Volkoff for sure, but Gorilla's honesty during commentary always cracks me up, because if you watch some of these prime times and these old house shows, he has no problem talking about if someone's fat, they're lethargic. He just doesn't give a shit. So as we get back in, Blair tags after Brunzell escapes the bear hug. Nice atomic drop to Volkoff, gets hit and back by Sheik off the ropes, and goes for a body slam on Volkoff, who falls on top of him. Sheik gets in and beats up Blair and gives the crowd the shove it up your ass arm visual. Sheik gets a camel clutch, and then Brunzell breaks it up. Blair reverses a suplex and gets a tag to Brunzell, who takes on both heels. He hits a big backdrop and Sheik and spin on him, it looked like, which, was not very babyface-ish. Volkoff's back in and Blair runs at him. Ref pushes Blair back. Volkoff gets an axe handle off the second rope to Brunzell, and Sheik gets the 3. Honestly, for me, Sheik and Volkoff matches tend to suck, because most of them do, especially here in 86, where they are clearly starting to be used as kind of those enhancement team kind of guys. But I didn't actually hate this. Volkoff absolutely sucks, but I thought Sheik took some good offense from the Bees, and the Bees looked good to me, but I always hated their gimmick, though, and their freaking tights sucked. So I went 2 1/4 on it. I thought it was pretty decent, especially for Sheik and Volkoff, who I really tend to hate as a team. Dr. G, I'll go to you first. What'd you think?
I went 2 stars on it.
That's fair.
I mean, the Killer Bees were entertaining. I agree that the tights were a little annoying, but Volkoff definitely at this point, he just didn't really have much. Sheiky did a lot of the work. You got to respect Sheiky's work in the ring at times. I mean, yeah, as he got older, it was a little rough, but he was still pretty decent at this point. Again, just a one of those, where you get a semi-main event on TV. Nothing offensive, but nothing too great. So to me, just an average rating too.
All right, and that's fair. And again, I went 2 1/4. Calum, did you like this one better or no?
Yeah, it was fine, I suppose. I wrote Koloff when I was doing my notes. Hashtag not my Russian. I also noticed that the size of the monitors on the commentary table were rather excessive. It would have been easier watching the ring, but you couldn't see over the monitors, so they took that out of them. Very AWA heavy match, given the people involved, and Sheik and
it is very AWA
Brunzell
style match. You are correct.
But Sheik, given the people involved, it's not entirely surprising. I went 1.75 stars. That was fine.
Okay. All right. And Schiff, close it out.
This shit sucked. Like, are we seeing this right now?
Man. Are you kidding me?
Like, this was bad.
God, Schiff, your freaking guardrail to guardrail matches is fucking. I mean, Jesus Christ. Go ahead.
Like, Sheik sucks. Volkoff was done by this time, and the Killer Bees couldn't do it. They had a bear hug of doom spot where I was literally thinking about my life's choices that led me to watching this match. And Sheik didn't humble Brian Blair like he says he was right there. So none of that. And then we got a crappy axe handle and Brunzell, and that's it. All right. 1.25 stars. Like, that's what I feel like watching that match.
Man, we've had some takes on the last 2 episodes of this show. I'll tell you what. Go ahead. You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Wow. All right. So I guess to end our watch here of this episode, Dr. G, I feel like we had pretty decent matches, and Calum ranges from absolute shit to somewhat decent, and Schiff, you hated both, right? Both matches.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Dr. G, I don't know. Maybe we're just old and we have more tolerance for shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I wouldn't. But there were obviously 4-star matches, and that's how we rated them. But I mean, it wasn't anything that I was like. I mean, we've seen some bad. Was that Colonel De Beers and Wahoo?
That was bad. That was bad. That was bad. So, all right. So that ends this episode of NWA Crock and Roll. And again, closing it on a really interesting note. So on our next episode, guys, you'll be happy to learn that we will finally get Arn Anderson versus Wahoo McDaniel for the TV title. How you feel about that, Calum?
I feel like I won't be here.
You feel like you won't be here. Okay. All right. I am also happy to announce we get another TV title match between Arn Anderson and Hector Guerrero. What do you think about that one?
Mild improvement.
God, Cal.
All right, Colin. How about a tag team match between Ric Flair and Arn Anderson versus the Italian Stallion and Kernodle? That has possibilities.
It has the Italian Stallion in it as well.
But it has Kernodle, Arn, and Flair.
But it has the Italian Stallion.
All right, so hopefully Colin will join us for our next episode. But anyway, Dr. G, anything you'd like to plug? I can't do this anymore.
I would. Yes, I'd like to plug this NWA Saturday special where we cover the current NWA.
Speaking of something I can't do anymore. NWA.
Yes. And I co-host the show NWA Saturday Special with the Podfather Scott Criscolo. It drops usually every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Have your coffee, listen to us, and we'll break everything down. And hopefully, for Sean's sake, the storylines will get better, especially the one with NWA World Champion Trevor Murdoch. Hopefully that won't be the case soon, so he can be happy and all can be happy in your world again, right?
Sounds great. You know what? I just realized because of the ending, we didn't do the end of show awards, and I'm just gonna say fuck it because I pretty much know what all the awards are gonna be after going through this episode. Calum, go to you next. What do you got to plug?
I have got to plug the Place to Be Nation live streaming services. First and foremost, or first up this time, twitch.tv/Place to Be Nation. Place to Be Nation, all one word, on YouTube, facebook.com/PTBN live, and at PTBN YouTube on Twitter. Yes, I have not managed to follow through on my threat of making them all the one tag name. The Special Relations is coming back very soon. We have been on hiatus after Mr. McNamara has been bringing up a mini podcast legend. And by the time you'll hear this, I will have been unveiled as the new upgraded host of Wrestling's Chicken Salad.
Wait. Did you say what did you say? Upgraded?
Upgraded. New host of Wrestling Chicken Salad.
I see. Upgraded, huh?
Upgraded, yes. I mean, 100% more Scottish, 100% less shit takes.
But Colin, I was gonna say, Colin. I mean, you have to bear in mind the show you're on, so the shit takes on that show tend to be something that has to happen. So you can't upgrade. It's hard to upgrade a shit take when it's me doing it. You know that.
The fact that there's going to be severely less is an upgrade, I feel.
Okay, fine. Man, Colin's just brutal today. He's just brutal.
This is, I mean, I'm that brutal. I'm one stop short of comparing you to Seabiscuit like Jim Cornette.
You're so goddamn. Wow, Scott, top that one.
I don't think I can. That was brutal right there.
Yeah, very mean spirited Scotsman tonight.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube Roulette, which is with Sean, Logan, and Jake and Matt Souza, where it's like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 going on with where we watch wrestling matches. I nearly killed Sean and the podcast a couple months ago when I chose a Jeff Jarrett versus Jerry Lawler match from 2012. Which,
you guys want to speak of a match that'll fucking put you through the ringer? You should watch that one, and then you'll see how you feel about Wahoo.
From 2012?
Yeah, yes.
Good Lord.
Yes.
That's post-heart attack.
Colin, the worst match I've seen in my entire life.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you can find me on Pop Goes to the Couch as well. We are busy as Marvel and Star Wars is trying to kill me, Sean, Tim, and Andy with all the great stuff they're releasing. Also, Stranger Things and The Boys, and I can be found on Twitter at Scott_Shiplet.
All right. As for me, by the way, I feel like Colin McDougal has gone full heel. I think he's turned heel this podcast.
I know. We thought it was going to be me.
Yeah,
it was Calum.
Calum going full heel, freaking talking about upgrading, and really feel a little disrespected, man. I was a little mean. I don't know. Calum.
What are you going to do?
I love it. I fucking love it. I finally pissed him off to the point of where he just said, "Fuck you, Sean Kidd." That's amazing. All right.
This is where we are now.
That's amazing. I think it's great. I still love you, Calum. You're still my favorite Scotsman.
Well, out of the 6 million of us that's thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're the only one I know too, but that's just the way.
Well, you know.
Yeah, my favorite. Anyway, as for me, you can find me on Twitter at NWA Crock and Roll, and that's it. Thanks for joining this very interesting episode of NWA Crock and Roll. My hope is Calum will rejoin us next month. And you know what? I feel like I feel like Calum went. Hey, Dr. J. I feel like Calum went like that. Whatever that great value doctor was on that other NWA pod. I feel like Calum just pulled that kind of heel turn on me.
Yeah, he's healing out tonight. This is a new side here. Oof.
It is, man. It is. Anyway, guys, thanks as always for joining me, and we will see everybody in 2 weeks where we talk about May Part 3. Have a good. See everybody then.